Okay, well, let's get started with making the actual bottle profile with a spline object. So we just need to go to Google and search beer bottle. Go in here and just find a nice frontal picture with no perspective. This one's actually perfect because there's no bottle cap. We're going to make the bottle cap later. So I'm going to right click and save this image just on the desktop. Now the way I like to do these profile images is really just to put the image on a plane object. So I'm going to drop a plane in and rotate it. Now if you hold down shift while you rotate, you get these 10-degree increments. It's really nice. So I rotate it 90 degrees. I have this, and I'm going to make a material by just double clicking right here. And you get a material set up right here, a blank default one. I can double click and open it. And in here in the color channel, I'll just go to the texture right here and click on this field. And I'll go to the desktop and bring this bottle in. Don't worry about copying it to the project location. And here it is. So the image is right here in the color channel. And when I drop this, I can drag and drop this material onto the plane object, get it right here. Now that was a tall image, and this is a very square plane, so I'm actually going to use this handle right here and just kind of make it a little bit, just a little tiny bit thinner. Now you can see how this little bit of shininess happens as I rotate. That's from the reflectance channel, and since this is the reference image, I'm going to go back and just turn this reflectance channel off so there's no shininess as you rotate or specularity. Okay, great. So I'm going to move this just a little tiny bit back from the origin like that, because what I'm going to do next is go to this 4-up view right here and go to the front view. And you can't see anything right now because the display setting right here is set to lines. It means there's no texturing or anything, it's just the line objects in the view. And if I go back to the perspective view, this has color and everything. That's because if I go to display right here, it's set to Garot shading, I think it's called. It's been said different ways. And that's the highest, it's got the most detail. If I went to lines, it would look like that. That's what you're seeing in the two-dimensional views. So I'll go back here to Garot, and I'll do the same thing when I go to the front view right here. I'll do the same thing for this, and go to display, Garot shading. So now I've got a two-dimensional, I'm just going to put this right here to the top. I've got a two-dimensional view of this image, and this is the best way to draw splines, in my opinion. Because if you draw them in a perspective view, this is what happens. So I go to the Spline tool right here, and I'll just start drawing something, whatever. It looks fine and flat when you see it straight on from the camera view, but as I rotate the camera, you can see it's perpendicular to the camera view, and whatever that was when you started drawing is what it does. So it is flat, but it's at some weird angle. So when you in the perspective view and you're using the camera to draw something, you have to make sure it's completely flat and perpendicular to your object or to an axis, which is annoying. And then you can just go, I'm going to delete all these. Instead, you can just go to a two-dimensional view like the front view, and as I draw these splines, it's two-dimensional and flat, and when I come back to perspective, they lay exactly on the origin axis, the z-axis, at 0. So that's exactly what you want to do when you make spline objects, is do one of the two-dimensional views. So we go back to front. Now a quick note here, I am using R16, and in subsequent updates of Cinema, R18 and whatnot, these pen tools have changed, these spline object tools, but that's not that big of a deal. The principles are the same. You're still going to make splines with a pen tool, and they're still going to have handles, whether it's Bezier or any other type ones. So I'm just going to, so don't worry about this being different looking from your current Cinema. These principles will carry over. So I'm going to use the Bezier pen tool, and that's nice and useful because if you just click like this, you can do linear, hard edge lines, or if I click and drag, I can make handles. It's very useful. That's what I'm going to use to make this spline profile. So I'm just going to start, it'll make sense in a little bit, but I'm going to start right here and just kind of rough in this shape. It's going to be rough right now, but it'll get refined in a second. Okay, that's pretty ugly. It's very rough. If I turn off this, if I go right here to this green check mark, that's the profile. Not great, but that's fine. I mean, it can be refined, and at the same time, it doesn't need to be completely accurate. This is going to be our own beer bottle. So, a couple things I like to do that don't make me so worried about how bad this looks. One thing is, you can go in to these and, use the move, scale, and rotate tools just like you would for any other polygon or object. So if I selected multiple points and used the rotate tool, I could actually rotate these like this. Or I could scale them apart in different directions. So it's very helpful. It makes it very easy to refine these models. And that's what we're going to be doing in this next section. We're going to be refining the spline profile of that beer bottle, including making this bottom part flat, and then making sure that the inside of the bottle meets the exact same point as the outside of the bottle. And that'll make a lot more sense when we use the lathe object, which is right here, to rotate the spline profile around in 360 degrees, which will make it a 3D object. So I'll see you in the next section.